are few players who can say that they truly defined a play style. Our next inductee, Get Right.
But he's the best goddamn teammate I ever had.
It would have been a cruel twist of fate that lineup not win a major.
I get so annoyed with him. I think we would have disliked each other so much.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I actually didn't prepare anything for this one, mostly because I didn't expect it to win this year, to be honest. I want to thank my family for always supporting me, especially my mom and dad, letting me stay up to like 3, 4 in the morning on the weekdays.
Well, it looks like they just let anyone into the Hall of Fame these days, don't they, Chris?
Yeah, they did. I mean, apparently I'm here now. Getting a Hall of Fame, you know, like something like that. So apparently I'm here now.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be a cool feeling.
It was kind of weird, mostly because in a way where it's like when I saw the announcement they're gonna actually have a Hall of Fame by HLTV, which is amazing.
You
finally.
started dusting off your suit and writing your speech?
No, but more like, I know that Patrick just announced that he retired, so I felt like it's an obvious choice he's gonna get it, like no matter what. And I feel like there's so many other people who also deserves it. And I was thinking like, if they maybe wanna do like some sort of like a timeline, so maybe, you know, do all the 4 first one from like the super early age.
Yeah.
And then just bring him in because, you know, he just announced his retirement and so on. I thought I was guaranteed next year maybe. When I got the news and so on, I was like, I actually got it. And it was also so perfect to get it with Patrick specifically because of how long we played together and shared basically our young adult life together for so long.
I still remember back in 2009, I was new kid on the block. I played pretty decent and I had Patrick as a teammate. And I was like, how can he be this good? I want to be better than him. I want to like really be better than him. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you accepted me as a human being and pushed me to the limits to become a better player and as a human being.
If I could pick anyone I wanted to be selected in with, it's only him. There's of course others to some degree because of friendship I have and I've known them for a long time. I see myself as friends with a lot of people. Yeah. But if I have to ultimately pick one, it's always going to be Patrick.
Well, take it a level deeper because you're getting inducted with Heaton and Potti as well.
Yeah.
Which I mean, for someone like you, obviously coming up in the Swedish scene, getting in with Heaton and Potti has to have like a particular point of pride, I would imagine.
It's also surreal when seeing it's 4 Swedes and 2 people I know from the past as well and looked up to and you know watched for so many years. And Potti is one of my best friends as well, which is, you know, insane in that way, where it's like, it's so like ridiculous in a way. There's 4 Swedes, there's not anyone else.
You know, for me, when I saw that, I had the same initial reaction. I was like, we're inducting all Swedes for this first time around. But then I looked at it and I was like, but you actually have like the pillars of 2 decades of Counter-Strike, essentially, of Heaton and Potti, and then Forrest and Get Right. For like 17, 18 years, Swedish Counter-Strike was just dominant.
We can bring Karn, we can bring DSN, Inns, Archie,
Fisker,
all, yeah, there's so many, you know, yeah. But I guess that's the true colors of what Swedish Counter-Strike was in the beginning, where it's like it was so dominant by Swedes. If it wasn't like 5 guys specifically, like we're very dominant, that some time periods it was, there are always 5 others. Like there's so many. It's just looking at the timeline.
There's always 1 to 2 Swedish teams in the top 3.
Oh, 100%. It's like at the same time when me and Forrest changed over to CSGO, and then you got fnatic eventually. Like they're also there, you know. Like that's the timeline of Counter-Strike history, where it's like there's always 2 Swedish teams.
Did you feel that kind of sense of pride during your career and while you were playing, of like carrying on this kind of Swedish legacy, or is that something that kind of kicked in reflection, maybe later in your career, maybe after you retired?
I think I always had it, no matter what, because I was taught, but also Heaton and Potti. Like that's how I got taught by the games, by watching and playing against them eventually before they stopped playing.
You had to have studied a ton of Potti demos back then.
Exactly. So for me, it's also, since you have the inspiration from those 2 people individually and knowing what they're saying and their thought process on their ideas gets kind of imprinted into your own mind. Even you would say it's not their ideas, it kind of is, because if we would say like this, when we created NIP, for example, again, with the Source and the CS 1.6 players together and so on, it felt like I kind of forced the idea of winning, no matter what, to everyone's mindset. I think they just felt that they understood the assignment they got when they joined NIP and doing like that because of the the rich history that NIP had in the past, and even SK, because that was also a lot of Swedes through the times, and fnatic, that all Swedes always had the winning mentality, always take another step that maybe some other individuals from the time didn't have, and that's always been from my career.
You have a couple unique factors of you as a player throughout your career that not a lot of other people have. You actually are one of the few people who has 3 games of Counter-Strike worth of information like melded together. You had a pretty tough go of it of getting started in 1.6 to an extent, like for how good you were. This was a dream that you chased for a long time. You got an opportunity in SK. You were kind of dropped from the team after the stand-in period, and then kind of found your way into fnatic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you had to mold and kind of change the way you played to get that chance within like the Swedish scene.
Yeah, I mean, it was a quite interesting time, I would say. It was a lot of teams between there as well.
Did it feel like rock bottom after SK?
No.
No?
No. The rock bottom was the team after that. It was a team called Blank, I think it was.
Okay.
It was with Jägan, Nico, Gux, and Face, I think it was. I think that was the lineup. I mean, it could be wrong somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they kicked me after, or benched, or dropped me.
Whatever you want to call it, yeah.
After like a ESWC qualifier in Sweden and so on. And I remember mostly why I felt like it was a rock bottom, because I gained a lot of weight in that time. And I felt kind of depressed of playing because it didn't go the way that I wanted to. And I remember I played so poorly in that tournament, like I think I got like 0-12 or something in like a LAN game or something, or 30, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, Fred came and talked me into playing again. But when Fred came back, because I played with him in B group, and talked me into creating a team with him, QP, Crystal, and Fitte, that changed me to like, listen, because I remember Bjorn and Fred did teach me a lot about tactics, games, team plays, like all the fundamental part of it. So his ideas of what he sees is in my DNA, because like I see the game differently, and I love his weird ideas, because he's like, sometimes we can bring up something and he's like, I'm not sure about it. And I'm like, tell me more. I want to see it. Especially during that time, it wasn't, and this is like in 1.6 even, there wasn't that many people who really were into his ideas. But when he got the right players around him, or group, then you can see like how smart he is, and actually like how different ideas and something off from the meta or changes in the game and so on like actually works, because he's breaking the game more than actually making it work for everyone else, because this is how you're supposed to play, and he is like, no, let's do it opposite, like, or something like that. Yeah. And it could sound very weird and like very like strange for a lot of people who weren't buying into his ideas. But if you did buy into it, you could see the beauty of his, thought process, and actually understand what he wanted to create.
Okay, so this is like a period of your career where you kind of had established yourself in the way you like to play, and then you're kind of flirting with these new ideas from a new IGL that you're starting to really enjoy. What was it like? Because then you went and joined fnatic after that?
Fnatic, I would say I was more like similar to when Fred changed my thing to be like a aggressive entry. Because I remember there were so many things that me and Gux, specifically in the Fnatic lineup, we added into their style of playing. Because at that time, Swedish Counter-Strike wasn't known for tactics or anything like that. We always had this mode of like, have great communication and team play. Whatever you're calling, we trust you. So if you would say we rush B, we're gonna rush B. There's no stopping. There's no one taking a step or something like that. We really believe and trust your words on this like idea. And I remember it where like when I'm playing in there, and like how Karn and DSN and Forrest specifically, that was the first time I played with Forrest then, for example, how they mauled me as a young adult, like just turned 19, 18, something like that. Yeah. How you behave, how you talk, how you do interviews, and like all of those things. So it's thanks specifically to Karn to like teach me that way of the industry. Yeah, like always be up for interview, always like do like this, and try to speak and think about your wording, or like those kind of things.
Do you feel like at this point in your career, like when you're kind of rising up at the end of 1.6, do you feel like you kind of made it into like the echelon of like Swedish professional royalty at this point? Are you there yet?
No. I cemented myself probably to be one of the best players, like a top 5 player. Yeah. In Sweden, I was probably top 3, maybe top 2 potentially, because I mean I'm playing with Forrest.
Yeah.
I can't win over him if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I say like if I had probably a little bit more years in 1.6, I probably would cement myself in that debate with Neo and Forrest maybe.
Okay.
But just a maybe. I'm not saying 100%, but like I could at least have a chance because sometimes people bring my name into that discussion, so I'm very flattered with it. But I
leave
say
me out of this one. I want nothing
exactly
to do with
because I feel like that's just a two-man club, basically. Like
Yeah.
let them have their fight, you know.
Like you and Forrest have basically become synonymous with each other in the same way that Heaton and Potti are. Like
Yeah.
where the names just flow. They feel like they flow together so well because we've said them so many times. It's almost like a lot of your career, you existed in this world where you were just always mentioned in relation to him, and he's always mentioned in relation to you.
Yeah.
What is that experience?
Flattering, I would say. I wanted to say weird first, but but mostly it's actually is flattering because when I started playing with him, which was like 4 years before he did his debut into the international scene in 2005, he wasn't someone that I maybe specifically looked at because he was so fucking hard hitter. Like, and I always loved to have mind games when I played the games and so on because I never saw my aiming as my strongest suit. It's more my thought process, how I position myself and look at the radar, knowing what people are saying and like listening and so on. And then I adapt to the situation and do it like that. Yeah. And he's like the raw, like hardcore, shooting hard and so on. Very smart as well. It's not like I'm saying he's like a hardcore, like just can aim. Yeah. You can see it time to time when he shines even more through, and maybe I taught him a little bit more to that. We won so much together, and like it's a brother for a life. I have so much respect for the goddamn person. Like it's insane. Yeah. Sometimes I get frustrated like anyone else. Sure. It's a relationship when you play for so long, and I think he did with me as well. Oh yeah. Because we're so different as human beings and play style, and like everything is so opposite from each other. It's calm, collective. I can be going around having fun and doing my stupid shit, and he can be like go hardcore entry. At that time, I'm the second guy in the lead, maybe at the beginning, and then or I was the first, he was second. Like all of those. It's like, and we could be on the other side of the maps towards later on in the careers we had together and so on. It's like there was a saying like for a while when me and him were in a 2v8 situation. There was a higher chance of us winning it than actually losing it. And the funniest thing was that we didn't even speak. We just played. Yeah. And we didn't even say like, you do this or I did that, or like, I take this one, you can do this, or like, let's go B, let's go A or something. It just happened like natural without even thinking. And we even laugh about it sometimes. We're like, yeah, we won like a 2v4, for example. We just look at each other because we sat on the other side and it's like, how did we manage to do that?
I mean, perfect complementary play style and knowing what you guys are both doing.
I think that I learned so much by him, by just looking and playing with him, that I understood what he's going to do in every step of the way. So if I can help him somewhere, maybe I'll fill in and take the gaps that he's maybe not focusing on and get him into the best position that he knows he's going to strive the most in. He's so talented. That's one thing I dislike with him. Like, it's so talented. I get so annoyed with him.
Frustratingly talented.
Especially when he's like, I needed to play like, at least in my opinion, like 120 hours per 2 weeks and so on. And I did it for years. He comes in, had 40 hours past 2 weeks and just fucking ace on a pistol. And you're like, bro, I sat on practice, deathmatch, bots and everything for hours, and then you go in doing that. Like, it's not okay. Have you even done it?
World of Warcraft for the last week?
World of Warcraft or Dota or HON or whatever game it could be. And he's so good in those games as well. It can be frustrating, to be honest. But that's the beauty of him, because he teaches me so much without even doing it on purpose, which is the best competitor I guess you can have as a teammate. Yeah. Because he's pushing me to a limit that no one else can see and don't think we have. And I don't think he actually never fought like that, but I'm competing against him all the time because not that I wanted to be better than him, but he's pushing me to be better as a player to help him and the team. Yeah. And I've said it so many times, but he's the best goddamn teammate I ever had.
I mean, it sounds like you're essentially saying without Forrest, there's no getting to this peak that you were able to find.
Never. Yeah. That's like 100%, I'm 100% confident I won.
When I spoke to Potti earlier, I asked him if there was any player that he never had a chance to play with on a team that he would have liked to have played with on a team, and you were the first name.
Really?
Yeah, the only name. He was like, well, our careers didn't intersect. He'd retired as you started kind of coming up, and he'd already been gone for a year or two. But he said he mentioned specifically the mentality of wanting to win. Yeah. And then obviously what came next was how skilled and good you are at the game. What do you think that would have been like if you and Potti are playing together? You guys would have had to have a battle for...
I think we would have disliked each other so much.
Do you really?
Yeah. Well, I think we would have pissed off each other so much because we just wanted to win so much, you know.
Yeah.
Snap some comments there and there when he's.
And there's some overlap in the positions and the
like,
way you guys like to play.
Yeah, maybe to some degree like that. But in the same time, I wish that actually, I think I don't even know if me and Potti actually ever really played against each other. I think we have, but it's
just for like fun show matches probably.
I mean, we have done that, I know for sure. But I think because I was up and coming, tried myself, so I played. I'm pretty sure I played against him. He has won every time. But it would have been so fun, in my opinion, to play with him. I only know Tommy from outside because that's how we get to know each other and grow up to be very close friends we are, you know. And we talk quite often about CS and so on, and like memories of his past and my past, and we're comparing and so on. But we always come into the same mentality to a lot of things where when we're discussing something that we both kind of disagree with, we kind of see it in each other where it's like, you kind of think the same way, you know, to some degree.
Do you have a moment, if you look back and reflect on your career, where it felt like this was the tournament that made you realize in your head you made it?
I mean, it must, if it's going to be in that regard, it must be the first IM that I won with Fnatic. But winning there and beating SK, for example, I played with before, and, you know, getting benched and all of those things from their relationship there. And they, you know, publicly say, you know, I'm a problematic person to play with or hang around with because I'm so much also younger than them. I understand it now. And
that probably was a personal for you, and that win specifically was not only winning but beating another team.
I mean, it was more like, you know, showing the finger and say, you guys fucked up, basically. You let me go, basically, in that regard. It wasn't like I had anything against anyone specifically, but it was more like, you guys had me.
Yeah.
Now,
this is what you could have had.
Karn and DSN and Forrest has me now instead. Like,
and
you guys fucked up big time.
Well, and I think SK at the time had to have surely been like the team that every young Swedish player wanted to join. Like, because after NIP had kind of folded and not really been around, SK was like the Swedish organization.
Yes, I mean, for sure. Fnatic was there, but it wasn't really...
It came up a little bit later, I feel.
To some degree, but it was like, you know, it was like the second team you on.
Yeah.
It's not the first pick, you know. But I'm so happy my success came in Fnatic because of Karn and DSN specifically, and getting no more Gux. I played with him before, and also meeting my teammates basically for my career, Forrest, you know. Yeah. I still have the trophy, which is amazing.
Do you really?
Yes, I still have it, and it's still shown on my stream. So if you come by my stream, you will see it next to my fridge, and that's the OG IM trophy.
If you look back, like, what if I ask you for your favorite like tournament win? What's the first one that jumps out to you? Because I mean, we could probably go through 5 or 6 that are extremely valuable, but the very first one that comes to mind.
It's DreamHack Masters Malmö 2016.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's a sleeper pick I didn't expect. I understand.
Which one would you think I
thought you would have done the major win.
I should say the major win. They are so head-to-head. It's basically 1 and 2, like they combine together.
Yeah.
So if I can take a little bit longer on answering, I will say I will give you an answer on both of them and like why they're so important for me both. Masters one first. We hadn't won in a while.
Yep.
It was in Sweden. It was in Malmö. And we had a new lineup. We had Fred as a coach IDL. We had Piff in the lineup. Piff, I guess, didn't really like, a lot of people didn't expect him to play with us, for example.
Nope.
Going into the grand final, and I still sometimes go into YouTube and watch that intro thing. I'm the first in the line to go up on the stage and so on. And everywhere I look, I only see an NIP jersey or a Swedish flag or something like that. If you go to an event in US, there's a lot of USA and all of those things, the pride and so on. In Sweden, it specifically feels like sometimes we don't really show it in that way. We support
a different relationship with
we
national
support
pride,
our players and so on like quite hard, but if they're not doing it or making it, we're not gonna care that much afterwards. But just taking those steps from outside and into the big stage and so on, and I see it and I'm doing like this or something like that. I think I'm trying to look cool in the beginning with like arms. I don't know, like it was so weird. I've seen it sometimes. I cringe hard when I see it. And then it explodes of winning, and I see everyone is sharing, even in the top floor and so on. Everyone is going mental. So it's like, I think I sat down in front of the booths and so on, and I'm just looking everywhere, and I'm seeing everyone still like celebrating. And this is like 10 minutes after we have won officially and everything. And I'm just taking it in and just having all of those emotions. Like, we are this big. This is insane. I mean, we lost like the major final in DreamHack Winter and so on. And I remember like when LDLC, the French guy, won and so on, the whole crowd is like quiet. Like everyone wanted us to win, you know, and we're sitting in this boxing ring kind of format and so on. You're so sad, but you're so devastated because you feel like you disappoint so many other people. And then like knowing there, and then, you know, French guys wins, which is amazing good friends of mine, Shocks and Smiths and MBK, all of those, you know, amazing guys. And they're not really getting that celebration because we were supposed to get that celebration, you know, like the big one, you know. So that's why it makes so much for me, like personally, and something I will never forget. Specifically, that moment sitting on that DreamHack stage in Malmö.
See, that's why I would have thought you would have picked the major, just because you mentioned losing the final in DreamHack.
Yeah.
Back in Jönköping, the first one. That had to have meant so much after everything you guys fought for and struggled in those major finals.
I mean, winning that one is also like so important for the team, but also for me personally, because we already lost 2 grand finals in a row. First one, I think we should have won. We kind of threw it away. Not threw it away, they deserve it. So it's not like I'm trying to bullshit their win. It's more like if we felt like we should have won that one. The second one, we didn't actually have a chance. But remember, I played so well before it, like everyone was popping off, and I think I had my best tournament in a long time. Like, and then we got stomped. We're like, why are we on the server basically?
Cloud, I believe, is the terminology.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then go into that major where it's like, you know, more rumors about maybe us kicking some players or someone's getting kicked or whatever, and like
how many major losses can this team
handle?
handle?
Yeah, exactly. Can we handle this shit? And you know, like we start off losing, you know, like for like second game directly against the French guys. With Shocks left Titans or something, and then like we had to play Hell Races and a best of one or overpass. No one has played it.
Yeah.
And Friber picks, you know, goes off and wins us basically that game.
Yep.
Plays C9, lost the first map.
Yep.
Had to win 16-14, I think on Dust 2, and then like 16-14 on Cobble.
Yeah, that was Cobble was new.
Yeah,
and
Cobble.
The randomizer was
Cobble
still around.
and Overpass was also
But
like
thankfully, you guys established
we got
yourselves
Cobble
as pretty damn good at Cobble.
Every game. But like every game that we played in that major win was just like so tough, and it's like I started puffing up, and Friber is still performing really well. We're going up and down everyone else. Like we still show up like 6th, 4th, 5th line, all of that, giving some moments, but still, I think us 4 specifically were still struggling time to time and so on. It was a make it or break it for that specific team if we didn't win that one. Because if we lost that one, let's say in the quarters, semis or something like that, 100% it would have been like a roster change. Yeah. And it would suck so much because we love to play with each other. We were a family. Like everything we did in that specific team were together. You know, like Fifth Line and Friber moved from Ireland because they lived there and worked there to Sweden, and both to Stockholm, and like we boot camped more. You know, like the group was so connected. So that's why I'm like sitting in front of the trophy, and that probably the best picture, probably ever. It feels like sometimes when they bring up that crying picture in front of the trophy, hugging the trophy and all of those things. You know, like for me, it felt like, you know, such a like big relief because I love those guys. Like I don't want to change anything like that, and that was the first time in my career I didn't want to change the group because of like how good we were together. It
would have been a cruel twist of fate had that lineup not won a major. After going like 87-0, after how dominant you guys were about this project of bringing in source players with 1.6 players and it working, it felt like it would have been a really cruel joke if you guys didn't get a major. fnatic, I think we lost 2 times against them. Yeah, 2 times against them. The second one, I mean, that lineup with Olaf Meister and, you know, all of those things, an insane lineup. Yep. They deserved that win, even though it kind of felt like that Dust 2 with Alla missing that op shots on short, when we are still complaining it's a hit, but it doesn't register. Definitely not salty. I would have wished to win 5 straight. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. It was, I mean, especially in the beginning, it would be like 87, 5 wins in a row in majors. Like, who the fuck are these guys, basically? But you know. But you'll always have 87-0. That record ain't ever getting broken. But that record is so weird, mostly because. Why? We didn't even know we had a record. Yeah. That's why it makes it so weird. It's amazing to have that record and so on. But it was like randomly when we had like 80 something, I think, or 59 or something like that, someone brought it up, and we didn't even know about it. That's probably why you had it running. You guys were just focused on the wins.
That as well, but also it's like when you actually look through those games that we won, the 87, it's like we actually were close to losing so many times. It's not that easy as many people think.
I want to really quick, because we're going to get to the end of it, I want to touch on it. It's almost like remiss that it's taken this long, but I want to touch on the rivalry you had with the French.
Yeah.
Because especially at the early stages of CSGO, those VeryGame lineups were like the only ones who felt like they could even come close to beating you guys. I remember every single event for like 2 years was just like, are they going to do it this time? It's such a fun rivalry to watch. And I feel like it was such an important rivalry to start CSGO.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, the beauty of that rivalry is also because how close we became, because there is a moment, I think it's the second win or third win we did, the NIP team. And I think we were in Prague or something like that. And I remember after the event, we were hitting the bar and having a beer together, like celebrate the win and so on. And I remember the VeryGames sitting like at the end of the bar, the group, and they speak French and so on. And at that time, they weren't speaking so much English. So you gotta remember, it's like MBK was the only one basically. Smith's a little bit rest couldn't even speak English. And I stood at the bar and was gonna be ordering, and then I ordered like a full like round for beers for them to say like good game and so on. And I ordered a beer, go sit down, and then I told her wait to go there, and she did, and so on. And then comes back and says like, yeah, they didn't want it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I went up to them and said like, it was me buying the beers for you guys. And then MBK was like, what? Like, and he started talking to me and so on. And I was like, no, I wanted to like. I think it was also end of the year. I was like, yeah, I wanted to give you a round of beers and like.
Gesture of appreciation.
Once again, like good game for the game and like, you know, like this, and you guys seem pretty cool, like just wanted to do this gesture basically. And then we get to figure out the existing, couldn't barely speak English at that time, and Niak has to be the translator. Yeah. RPK didn't say too much.
Sounds like all the guys, yeah.
Yeah, and MBK was talking to me quite a lot because he knows the most English. Smith started talking a little bit more. But that was like the start of, I guess, to some degree also the relationship we had with the French guys. We were also so differently, completely opposite to the teams, because they were more, you know, into tactics, grenades,
X's and O's,
fundamental, and like knowing what X and Y person are doing. When they're doing a strat, everyone is running like this and doing like that.
You guys were classic
we
Swedish
were like,
hive mind. Yeah.
Throwing people here, see what happens, basically. Like
default, take some mid control if you feel like it.
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
Get an entry on short if you do it, then we do an A execute. Okay, we didn't get an entry, just do a B split, hope for the best, basically. But it was a good rivalry between us, and like they did push us quite a lot in that way. But it felt like VP was still the team that were supposed to beat us, because they felt more threatened in a way.
Okay.
Because they were similar from us, you know, so we don't know what to expect, basically. But we were VeryGames, it felt like we could basically predict them to some degree all the time.
And eventually you play them so many times that you're so familiar with them as well. Is there any other rivalry that you've enjoyed over the years with a team or a player that you just enjoyed beating? Or, I mean, even if you lose, you just enjoy the back and forth?
I guess the Polish guys the most, because of, like, from 1.6 and CSGO to some degree. Connection. And how close we were, and like where we come from and so on. Like, you know, none of the guys had money back in the days in 1.6. We went out together, had some dinners together and so on, and like we're connected to some degree together.
Yeah, the era of playing for pride.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we all fight for, you know, the game and the competition and all of those things. But at the end of the day, it's like we're pretty cool with each other, you know. It was big rivalry, but not like, you know, aggressive towards each other or something like that.
Is there anything, if you look back in your career, that you had on a list of goals you wanted to accomplish? Because you've won a major, you've been best player in the world twice. You know, you've won so many events. You've played on legendary organizations with legendary teammates. Is there something that you wanted to but didn't accomplish?
It would have been cool to maybe play with the fnatic guys, I would say.
Okay.
But I'm also pretty sure that they never wanted me. So it's fine. No, because like they also had Flosha. And
Flosha, you just made it sound so sad.
Oh no! I mean, it is kind of sad, but I'm just meaning like because of both me and Flosha were so good at that time period as well.
Yeah, you were never
so it would
be
weird to change, you know, two of the like potentially best players of both of the teams. You know, like.
I've heard you mention that you were always surprised. I think you said this in Reflections with Thorin. You were always surprised to learn that like JW and Flusha had that very similar like win at all costs kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Like winning is #1 priority at all times.
Yes. I was surprised to find that out about them, mostly because I never got that vibe from them. But then in the same time, we also had that kind of weird history between me and them, and you know the teams and all of those. Yeah, you know, like that, which also makes it more fun, at least if you ask me nowadays, because I hang out with JW quite often, time to time, and so on, and like I talk to Flush and play with him and so on. Like, there's one thing in my career that I regret I never did, was to actually play with Gobby.
The Godfather.
Yes, because I always admired and respected his thought process and his ideas about CS.
He feels very similar to Threat.
To some degree, but I always saw Gob as more stricter.
Okay.
And more like demanding and more harder in that way. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's how I see him and so on. But I always admired him even from 1.6 when he came up, and we kind of came up from around the same time, not like maybe half a year or something between, but that's about it, you know. And I did get offer to play with him as well and so on, and like I think that he's one of the players that I actually genuinely wanted to play with, and actually because I had so much admire and respect for him. Yeah. That's like one like that really sticks out for me. It could be very random because there's so many players, right? There's like Nico, you have Kenny, you have Simple, you have like Shocks, you have like GW and all of those guys, the Polish, you know, like all of those things. But then, you know, back in those times, they weren't known to have international teams either. Germans always had, you know, through the history, like with Mouse and Big and all of those things, they always had an international guy in their team, you know? So it would have been cool if you ask me.
Just never happened.
Never happened.
Well, you got to accomplish pretty much everything else there is to do in the scene.
It's a huge privilege, and a massive thank you to HLTV to actually come up with this concept. Because CS has such a rich, big history with the Counter-Strike players for the years. So it's very, very nice to actually be part of this committee of 4 people in the first round as well, getting it. And this means so much to me. It really, really does. And it's like a thank you statement for me to actually how much I pushed myself and actually put the hours into the game and so on. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm very, very thankful for it.
Yeah, congratulations on the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Congratulations on such a great career.
Thank you so much.